The unexpected challenge. Commander Elena Vasquez was enjoying her morning coffee when the universe decided to change forever. The steaming mug was halfway to her lips when every alarm in the United Earth Space Command headquarters began screaming. At once, red emergency lights bathed the corridors in an ominous glow as officers rushed past her office door. Their faces tight with concern, Elena set down her coffee and strode toward the main command center. The massive room buzzed with frantic activity as dozens of technicians worked at their stations. The central holographic display showed something that made Elena's blood run cold. 12 massive ships hung in space at the edge of the solar system, each one easily the size of a small city. Their design was unlike anything in Earth's databases. Sleek, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Commander? Lieutenant Sarah Park called out from her position at the communications console. We're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessels. They're demanding to speak with Earth leader. Elena nodded grimly. As the highest-ranking officer currently at headquarters, that responsibility fell to her. Put them through, Lieutenant. Let's see what our visitors want. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a face that belonged in humanity's worst nightmares. The creature had pale blue skin stretched tight over a skull that was too long and too narrow. 4 eyes, each a different shade of amber, studied Elena with cold intelligence. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the computer into perfect English, though the tone remained alien and threatening. Primitive inhabitants of the third planet, the alien began, its multiple eyes never blinking in unison. I am War Marshal Thyrix of the Keltharian Empire. Your world has been selected for annexation into our domain. You have one of your planetary rotations to surrender unconditionally. Resistance will result in the complete elimination of your species. Elena stepped closer to the screen, her military training keeping her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. This is Commander Elena Vasquez of United Earth Space Command. We appreciate your invitation, but respectfully decline. Earth is not interested in joining your empire. War Marshal Thyrix's 4 eyes widened in what might have been surprise or amusement. You decline? Do you not comprehend the situation? We are the Keltharian Empire. We have conquered over 2,000 worlds across this galaxy. Your primitive technology cannot stand against the might of our fleets? Maybe not, Elena replied, with a slight smile that didn't reach her eyes. But we'd like to find out. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command center in tense silence. Elena turned to her staff, her mind already racing through possibilities. I need Captain Marcus Chun on a secure channel immediately. Sarah, analyzing everything our sensors picked up about those ships, and get me Dr. Kim from the research division. Within minutes, Captain Marcus Chun's weathered face appeared on a secondary screen. He was aboard the exploration vessel Defiance, currently investigating the outer system's asteroid belt. Commander, I can see the alien fleet from here. 12 ships, just like you said. But, Elena, there's something strange about their formation. Strange how, Marcus? They're positioned in a perfect geometric pattern. It's too perfect. Like they're following some kind of rigid tactical doctrine. No flexibility. No adaptation to local conditions. They're treating this like every other conquest they've made. Dr. Sarah Kim arrived in the command center, still wearing her laboratory coat. She was Earth's leading expert on xenobiology and had been studying intercepted alien communications for years. Commander, I've been monitoring their transmissions. These Keltharians operate on a very rigid hierarchical system. Everything is planned, organized, and executed according to established protocols. Elena absorbed this information thoughtfully. So they're powerful, but predictable. Exactly. They've been so successful for so long that they can't imagine anyone challenging their standard methods. They expect species to either surrender immediately or fight according to traditional military tactics. Lieutenant Park looked up from her analysis station. Commander, I've been studying their ship designs. They're definitely advanced, but the technology seems to be very standardized. Every ship has the same type of weapons, the same shield configuration, the same energy signature. It's like they mass produce everything according to rigid specifications. Captain Chen's voice crackled through the communication system. That matches what I'm seeing out here. They've spread their ships in a textbook blockade formation. No variation, no creative positioning. They're treating Earth like just another primitive world to be collected. Elena felt a plan beginning to form in her mind. The Keltharians were expecting Earth to respond according to their experience with other worlds. They would anticipate either immediate surrender or conventional military resistance. But humans had one advantage that their previous victims might not have possessed. Humanity's greatest strength was its refusal to accept limitations. Dr. Kim, Elena said, what do you know about their psychology? How do they react when things don't go according to plan? The scientist consulted her tablet, scrolling through pages of analysis. Based on intercepted communications from their other conquests, Keltharians become confused and inefficient when faced with unexpected variables. Their entire culture is built around order, hierarchy, and following established procedures. Chaos is their weakness. Perfect. Elena turned to address the entire command center. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to fight these aliens the way they expect. We're going to show them what happens when humans refuse to follow the rules. Over the next several hours, Elena coordinated with military leaders across Earth. The planet's defenses were impressive but conventional, orbital weapons platforms, defensive satellites, and a small but advanced fleet of warships. Against 12 massive alien vessels, the odds seemed hopeless using traditional tactics. But Elena wasn't planning a traditional defense. Captain Chen reported back from his position near the alien fleet. Commander, they've started scanning Earth's surface. Standard reconnaissance pattern, very methodical. They're cataloging our cities, military installations, and population centers. Probably preparing for a surgical strike to eliminate our leadership. Let them scan, Elena replied. Are they detecting any of our hidden assets? Negative. The stealth installations remain invisible to their sensors. Whatever they're seeing, it's only what we want them to see. This was crucial to Elena's plan. For decades, Earth had been secretly developing unconventional defensive systems. Not because they expected an alien invasion, but because human military strategists had always believed in preparing for the unexpected. Hidden throughout the solar system were installations that traditional military doctrine would predict. Dr. Kim had been working with a team of psychologists and military analysts to understand Keltharian decision-making patterns. Commander, I think I understand their weakness. They've conquered so many worlds using the same basic approach that they can't adapt when that approach fails. It's like they've forgotten how to think creatively. What do you mean? Every species they've defeated has either surrendered immediately or fought using conventional space warfare tactics. Ships attack ships. Weapons target weapons. Battles follow predictable patterns. They've never encountered a species that fights ... Well, like humans, Elena smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Like humans how? Chaotically. Unpredictably. With complete disregard for military protocol when necessary. We're the species that built catapults to launch ourselves into space for fun. We strap ourselves to explosives and call it transportation. We dive into oceans full of predators because we think it's relaxing. Lieutenant Park looked up from her console. With wide eyes, Commander, they're moving. The alien fleet is advancing toward Earth. Estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Elena nodded calmly. Good. Signal all units. Operation Chaos Theory is now active. Across the solar system, human forces began moving according to Elena's unconventional battle plan. It wasn't a plan that any military academy would teach, and it certainly wasn't one that the Keltharians would expect. But it was uniquely human in its complete rejection of how space battles were supposed to work. The first phase involved Captain Chun's ship, the Defiance. Instead of joining Earth's defensive fleet, Marcus received orders that made him question Elena's sanity. He was to approach the alien fleet alone, without weapons charged, broadcasting human music at maximum volume. Asterisk. Elena? You want me to do what? Marcus asked over the secure channel. Trust me, Marcus. These aliens expect every species to follow predictable patterns. We're going to show them that humans don't do predictable. As the Defiance approached the Keltharian fleet, its communication arrays transmitted every type of human music simultaneously. Classical symphonies, heavy metal, jazz, pop songs, tribal drums, and electronic dance music. The cacophony that reached the alien ships was unlike anything they had ever encountered. War Marshal Thyrex stared at his sensor readings in confusion. Navigation officer, explain this behavior. Why is the human vessel approaching without shields or weapons? Unknown, War Marshal. They appear to be transmitting some form of acoustic data. Our computers cannot classify its purpose. Are they attempting to communicate? Negative, sir. Analysis suggests this may be some form of entertainment or artistic expression. Thyrex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his species. In over 300 conquered worlds, no species had ever responded to invasion by playing music. The Keltharian Tactical Database had no protocol for this situation. Meanwhile, Dr. Kim was implementing the second phase of Elena's plan. Using Earth's most powerful transmitters, she began broadcasting human television programs, internet videos, and cultural content directly at the alien fleet. The Keltharians found themselves subjected to everything from cooking shows to action movies, from educational documentaries to cat videos. The alien communications officer approached Thyrex with a bewildered expression. Or, Marshal, the humans are transmitting vast amounts of data. Our analysts cannot determine if this is a weapon, a communication attempt, or something else entirely. Something else? Explain. Sir, they appear to be showing us images of small, domesticated predators in various amusing situations. Our xenopsychology department has no framework for understanding this behavior. Back on Earth, Elena was coordinating the final phases of her unconventional defense. Hidden installations throughout the solar system were powering up, but not with traditional weapons. Instead, they were preparing to deploy the most human response possible to an alien invasion, complete and utter chaos, designed to overload the Keltharians' rigid tactical systems. As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, War Marshal Thyrex found himself facing something no Keltharian commander had ever encountered, an enemy that refused to fight according to any logical pattern. The humans weren't surrendering, but they also weren't mounting a conventional defense. Instead, they were doing something that the Keltharian military database couldn't classify or counter. They were being human. The stage was set for a confrontation that would prove once, and for all that the universe's greatest military force was about to encounter something they had never prepared for. A species that believed rules existed only until someone found a better way to break them. Asterisk. Breaking all the rules, War Marshal Thyrex stood rigid in the center of his command vessel, his 4 eyes fixed on displays that showed readings he couldn't comprehend. The human planet grew larger on his screens, but everything about this conquest was wrong. In 300 successful invasions, no species had ever responded to the Keltharian Empire with music, entertainment broadcasts, and what his computers insisted on classifying as images of small furry creatures in various poses. Communications officer, Thyrex barked, his voice sharp with frustration. Have the humans responded to our ultimatum? Yes, War Marshal. They transmitted a single word in response. And that word was? The communications officer hesitated. Nope. Thyrex's elongated skull tilted at an angle that indicated extreme confusion among his species. Nope. What does this mean? Our translation computers indicate it means no, but in a more casual manner than formal diplomatic rejection. On Earth, Commander Elena Vasquez was watching the alien fleet's approach with grim satisfaction. The first phase of Operation Chaos, Geary was working perfectly. Dr. Sarah Kim had been monitoring Keltharian communications, and their confusion was growing by the minute. Commander, Dr. Kim reported, their command structure is starting to show stress fractures. They keep requesting guidance from higher authority, but their own protocols don't have provisions for this type of scenario. Elena nodded. Phase 2, Sarah. Let them see what human creativity really looks like. Dr. Kim activated systems that had been hidden throughout the solar system for this exact moment, but these weren't weapons in any traditional sense. Instead, they were the culmination of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to look at any situation and ask, what if? We tried something completely different. The first installation activated near Jupiter's largest moon. Instead of firing energy weapons or missiles, it began launching what appeared to be garbage into space. Thousands of pieces of debris, old satellites, defunct space stations, and actual refuse from Earth cities scattered across the Keltharian fleet's approach vector. Navigation officer. Thyric shouted as proximity alarms began sounding throughout his ship. Report on these obstacles. War Marshal. The humans appear to be launching their waste materials at us. Our sensors detect no weapons signatures, no explosive compounds. It appears to be actual garbage. This makes no sense. Are they trying to delay our advance? Unknown, sir. The debris field is extensive but poses no actual threat to our vessels. What the Keltharians didn't understand was that the garbage was just the first layer of Elena's plan. Hidden among the genuine debris were thousands of small devices, each one designed to confuse alien sensors and disrupt their tactical computers. But more importantly, the debris field forced the rigid Keltharian formation to break apart and navigate around obstacles, something their tactical doctrine wasn't designed to handle. Captain Marcus Chen was still broadcasting human culture at the alien fleet from his position aboard the Defiance. But now he had company. Dozens of civilian ships had joined him. Cargo haulers, passenger transports, private yachts, and even a few tour buses that had been converted for space travel. None of them were armed, but all of them were broadcasting. Elena, Marcus called. Over the communication system, I've got 300 civilian vessels out here with me, and they're all playing different music. The aliens must be getting quite a concert, Elena smiled. This was the beauty of human unpredictability. She hadn't ordered civilian ships to join the defense, but humans being humans, they had volunteered anyway. Now the Keltharian fleet was surrounded by hundreds of ships that made no tactical sense, served no military purpose, and completely violated every rule of space warfare. Lieutenant Jake Morrison was aboard one of those civilian vessels, a converted cargo ship called the Lucky Strike. Jake was a former military pilot who now hauled mining equipment between Earth and Mars. He had no business being in a battle, but when aliens threatened his home, he figured someone needed to do something about it. This is Jake Morrison aboard. The Lucky Strike. His voice crackled over the general communication frequency. I've got an idea that's either brilliant or completely insane. Elena's voice responded immediately. Jake, this is Commander Vasquez. Given our current situation, insane might be exactly what we need. Well, Commander, I've been studying these alien ships, and they all have the same weak point. Their main sensor array is positioned on the underside of each vessel, probably because they're used to approaching planets from above. What if we don't attack their ships? What if we attack their ability to see us? Dr. Kim looked up from her analysis station. Commander, that's actually brilliant. If we can blind their sensors, their rigid tactical programming won't know how to adapt. Elena made a decision that would have gotten her court-martialed under normal circumstances. Jake, you're now a temporary tactical advisor. What do you need? Every ship with a high-powered industrial laser, every cargo hauler with mining equipment, and about 20 minutes to coordinate the most ridiculous battle plan in human history. While Jake organized his impromptu civilian fleet, Elena activated the third phase of Operation Chaos Theory. Hidden installations throughout the solar system began deploying what could only be described as the weaponization of human entertainment. Massive holographic projectors, originally designed for advertising and entertainment, began creating false images throughout space. The Keltharian sensors suddenly detected hundreds of human ships that didn't exist. Entire fleets of phantom vessels that appeared and disappeared according to no logical pattern. Asterisk. War Marshal Thyrix was beginning to experience something no Keltharian military commander had ever faced. Complete tactical confusion. His enemy wasn't following any recognizable battle strategy. They weren't even fighting in any traditional sense. Instead, they were creating chaos on a scale that his species' organized minds couldn't process. Science officer, Thyrix demanded, explain what we are observing. War Marshal, the humans appeared to be using psychological warfare, misdirection, and tactics that have no precedent in our military database. They are not attempting to destroy our ships through conventional means. Instead, they seem to be trying to confuse us into destroying ourselves. That's impossible. No species would risk their entire civilization on such an illogical approach. Nevertheless, sir, our tactical computers are overloading trying to process the variables they're introducing. We have too much contradictory information to make effective decisions. Lieutenant Jake Morrison's plan was reaching its climax. 300 civilian ships, armed with nothing more dangerous than mining lasers and cargo handling equipment, were executing a maneuver that violated every principle of space combat. Instead of attacking the Keltharian warships directly, they were targeting the alien sensor arrays with precise, coordinated strikes. Remember, Jake broadcast to his improvised fleet, we're not trying to destroy these ships. We're just trying to make them deaf and blind. Hit their sensors, their communication arrays, anything that helps them see what's going on. The civilian fleet swarmed around the massive Keltharian vessels like angry bees. Their industrial equipment causing minimal damage but maximum disruption. Sensor arrays sparked and failed. Communication dishes were knocked offline and navigation. Systems lost their ability to track targets. Dr. Kim watched the battle unfold from Earth's command center with growing excitement. Commander, it's working. Their ships are losing coordination. Without their sensors, they can't maintain formation or execute their tactical programs. Elena activated the final phase of her unconventional defense. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations began broadcasting a signal that Dr. Kim had specifically designed to exploit Keltharian psychology. It wasn't a weapon or a jamming signal. It was something far more devastating to a rigid, hierarchical species that it was pure, concentrated chaos. The signal contained random numbers, contradictory orders, impossible mathematical equations, and logical paradoxes. To human minds, it was just noise, but to Keltharian computers and brains that required order and structure to function, it was devastating. War Marshal Thyrix felt his carefully ordered world collapsing around him. His ships were blind, his communications were failing, and his tactical computers had begun displaying error messages he had never seen before. Worse, his own mind was struggling to process the contradictory information flooding his consciousness. All ships, he ordered desperately, retreat to minimum safe distance. We need time to reorganize. But even this simple order proved impossible to execute. Without functional sensors or communications, the Keltharian fleet couldn't coordinate a proper retreat. Ships moved in different directions, some accelerating while others decelerated, creating a confusion that grew worse with each passing minute. Captain Marcus Chun watched the alien fleet scatter in disarray and couldn't help but laugh. Elena, I think they're retreating, or trying to. It's hard to tell the difference at this point. Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the center of Earth's command center, surrounded by displays showing the impossible. Humanity's ragtag defense had succeeded not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple application of human nature, the refusal to accept that there was only one way to solve a problem. Dr. Kim, Elena said, open a channel to the alien fleet. War Marshal Thyrix's image appeared on the main screen, but now his 4 eyes showed something that Elena had never seen in an alien face, respect mixed with fear. War Marshal, Elena began, I hope you've learned something today. Humanity doesn't surrender, and we don't fight fair. We fight smart, we fight creative, and we fight together. Your empire might have conquered 2,000 worlds, but you've never faced a species that treats the rules of warfare as suggestions rather than laws. Thyrix's response came slowly, as if he was struggling to form the words. Commander Vasquez, we do not understand your methods. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare. Elena smiled. Maybe that's your problem. You've gotten so civilized that you've forgotten how to be creative. Humans never forgot that the best way to win is to make the other side fight your battle instead of their own. The Keltharian war marshal was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a tone that Elena recognized. The sound of someone whose entire worldview had just been shattered. We will withdraw. From your system, Commander, the Keltharian Empire will ... reconsider its approach to your species. Smart choice, Elena replied. But Marshal, one more thing. If you ever decide to come back, remember this. Humans don't just think outside the box. We set the box on fire and use the ashes to fertilize completely new ideas. The transmission ended, and within hours, the Keltharian fleet had disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth's solar system behind. They carried with them a lesson that would reshape their empire's understanding of the galaxy. Some species couldn't be conquered because they refused to be conquered in any recognizable way. Lieutenant Jake Morrison guided his civilian fleet back toward Earth, his cargo ship loaded with stories that no one would believe. Dr. Sarah Kim began analyzing the wealth of data they had gathered about alien psychology and technology. Captain Marcus Chen continued his patrol of the outer system, still occasionally broadcasting human music just in case anyone else was listening. And Commander, Elena Vasquez sat in her office, sipping a fresh cup of coffee and reviewing the after-action reports. The universe had tried to impose its rules on humanity today, and humanity had responded the way it always did, by rewriting the rules completely. Outside her window, Earth continued its ancient rotation, populated by a species that had just proven something important to the galaxy. Humans might be young, they might be small, and they might not have the most advanced technology. But they had something that no other species seemed to possess. The absolute conviction that any problem could be solved if you were willing to think differently enough. The Keltharian Empire would spread word of Earth throughout the galaxy, but not as a conquered world. Instead, they would speak of humans as the species that fought a battle by refusing to fight, won a war by making the enemy question what war even meant, and defended their home by turning the entire concept of defense into something unrecognizable. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other alien civilizations would hear these stories and make a simple decision. Maybe it was better to be friends with humans than enemies. After all, any species crazy enough to fight a space battle with garbage, industrial equipment, and cat videos was probably not a species you wanted to make angry. Elena raised her coffee mug in a silent toast to human ingenuity, creativity, and the eternal refusal to accept that anything was impossible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but today had proved something important. As long as humans remained human, the universe would never be boring. The galaxy had learned a new rule. Today, never underestimate a species that considers impossible to be just another word for interesting challenge.